So Moti, thank you for being here. It's wonderful to have you. Of course, I know that you are from the area, but again, thank you so much for coming here.
Thank you for having me. Yes, quite close, Ness Ziona. I'm living in Tel Aviv today, but originally from Ness Ziona.
So to kick off our conversation, and I know that this is a little bit of a nonchalant question, although I kind of prepared you before that for the conversation. Tell us a little bit about your childhood and what actually drove you to become an entrepreneur.
Yes, I'll try to do it as fast as I can. My childhood is long, I'm old already now. So, born and raised in Ness Ziona. I actually came to entrepreneurship and especially technology from a very strange, let's say, angle. Not the typical route that you probably hear from entrepreneurs in Israel. I used to play football. I love playing football. I was actually very good at that. Some people think that I missed my opportunity when I went to start. And I was kind of always fascinated by games, love to play games. And I started to ask myself a lot of questions on how to build those games as a kid. And I can tell that, you know, deep inside, I always had the feeling, I didn't know how to describe it. I didn't know I'm going to be an entrepreneur because I didn't know what it means to be an entrepreneur. But I can tell you as a kid, always had the drive to do something which is not the typical going to work in a specific place from 9 to 5 and do the repetitive, repeat kind of the same thing day after day. So I try to find ways to let's say, build my future in a way that I feel that is changing, challenging, and I can experience something different.
And before we dig into the words of your, whatever Apester is doing, tell us to begin with, what is Apester?
Yes, good question. So Apester is a platform to help content creators from brands, marketeers, and media companies to basically create content in scale and that fits to today's demands from consumers. Meaning is content that can be made in social networking, Facebook and Instagram and Snapchat, inside their website, their blog, content that is visual and interactive, that can be measured back and can see what is the effect of it and made it very easy to use. So think about us like Wix for creating interactive content.
You were founded, and that actually what amazed me when I first contacted you and I asked you to join us for Fireside Chat. You were actually founded in 2011.
True.
How the hell
did
you know that the world is going to be content on steroids, basically?
Yeah, so first of all, to be honest, we founded in 2011, but we definitely didn't knew that, all right? I started to think about what I'm going to do after, finished my previous job, which was investment banking, creating Algotrading platform, which was a pretty cool experience. But then when I started to ask myself again, okay, where should I invest my time? So I basically opened what used to be a different name, Commerce, back in the days, with one thing in mind, which kind of combined my passion, that the way that brands, marketeers communicate with their consumers look to me very lame. Okay, when you think about flat banners or very simple, let's say, call for action advertising, look to me like it doesn't fit to the consumers' demand. Especially in 2011-12, it was Facebook booming all over the place. Mobile device became the one thing that you consume content, and I felt that maybe the old school kind of marketeers and old school audience can still experience what used to be advertising back in the days. But I felt inside as a consumer, that knowing the world that a brand that would like to make me engaged, that actually want to grab my attention, can use the same methods that used to be in the past. And then I asked my question, the next question, the following question is, okay, so how the hell we will? Because I don't have, and I think you see that today more than ever, consumers are willingly and happily consume branded content if it give them value, if it packaged the right way, if it delivers in the right places as well. So what I saw very early in 2012, 2013, when we started to iterate with the idea of how to really build eventually what became Apester, I knew that brands will deliver a lot of content in the future, and content will be their mean to reach the audience. Eventually, content and advertising will become the same thing. And that's what started kind of the movement towards what became Apester in 2014.
Now, something which is actually very interesting to me is that how do you make a generic system that actually helps any marketeer around the world? Because, I mean, let's take two of your customers, okay? So if I take Barcelona football club, right, and I take Nike, that might be the same thing. But if I take Barcelona and let's say some cornflakes company, I don't know what, I mean, how can you build a generic content for each and every individual company? It sounds to me like impossible to do.
It's actually very tough, but they have almost similar needs, even though they're different brands with obviously different audience and different product that they are selling. Eventually, their needs as marketeers are the same. They need to generate content in scale, in a professional way, that can be distributed across multiple channels and can be measured in terms of how the effect of every piece of content they produce. And what we started to ask ourselves is, first and foremost, what is the common ground between, for instance, Nike and Barcelona to Cafe, okay? Which is obviously two different brands, different products. But we understood that even Cafe, compared to Nike, Bundesliga, or Barcelona, can generate content that can be meaningful for consumers. For an instant, a lot of people love coffee, right? But if you will want to have or produce content around coffee that can be packaged the right way, for an instant, the story format that everybody knows from Instagram and Snapchat and TikTok, and make it visual, make it interactive, make it interesting enough for consumers, and give them very easy tools to produce those stories and distribute them across their social channels and website and blog. It actually will have the same impact as Nike and Bundesliga needs eventually the same tools. So once we started to understand that content is content is content, and it doesn't matter if you are a huge brand or a small brand, what's important is how you package it, where you distribute it, and who is your audience if you really ask yourself the questions of what they care about. And if I, as a platform, can help you to package it, create, distribute, and learn from it, I can actually address the same needs from two different angles, if that makes sense.
It does, and therefore I want to take the same question from a different angle, all right? I mean, I've been hearing, and actually I thought that myself as well, that social media is kind of dead. I mean, Facebook today is basically a marketing platform, that's it. Nobody posts anything other than us old people, right?
Facebook is Instagram and
yeah, exactly. So, but and then comes TikTok, which my niece, who is 9 years old, is addicted to that. I never even seen what TikTok looks like. But how can you do, again, a generic product or system that actually correlates to each and every kind of social media, which is kind of different altogether?
So the question is a combination of two different things. First of all, technology. So when you're building the product and the technology, you make it as flexible enough in terms of the infrastructure, the application side, how you build the APIs, without getting too much to the deep tech. The better job you do on understanding and making as, let's say, abstract as possible on technology level, the easier it will be for you to add new stuff to it. New stuff that basically comes from the market, like you said. TikTok is a new platform. Story is a new format. And these two became for us an important, not just to create the right technology in place, but then from the other angle to ask ourselves, is this platform is the next platform, TikTok for an instant, which consumers gonna be there, and to ask what is the right format to add to our technology in order to enable the content creators to produce the content for their consumers in the right way. So it's a combination of always trying to ask where is the trend is, what is the next platform, what is the right format, and making sure that the technology is flexible enough that you can very easily add to your tools you're producing to make it very, let's say, accessible and fast-pacing in terms of the changes that are happening in the market.
Let's talk about brands for a second. Okay, it's easy to build a brand, but as you said right now,
Easy to build a brand?
well, let's say if we take Nike, they built a brand kind of quickly, right? Of course it was
Tens of years.
Yeah, but,
Tens of years, a lot of
but you see that like Facebook, it took them to reach, how much, like 1 billion customers in like a fraction of the time that it took forward to go and then get 1 billion customers. But I'm just saying that if you look at it today, actually your customers are looking for you to prove that you are doing actually something to promote your brand. And they want to help you with that. And this is something which is actually, I would assume, going to become more extreme if we look about the millennials, right? Not even the Y generation, but the Z generation and all those guys. So where are you going to go with your kind of solution, looking at that future?
So I think the future is going towards the same direction, only in more faster, even more iterative nature in terms of the consumers will jump between different platforms. It's constantly the new one will come. So it's kind of the hot potato model. And but again, the needs will be always the same. If you think about it, the needs from a brand, Nike or Ford, in the 20s or 30s or 50s of the last millennium, are the same as today. Eventually, to reach to a new audience, to make sure that they are creating an offering, either through content or advertising, that bring new customers to their service and product. I think what is definitely changed today, dramatically changed, is the fact that it's never been easier to reach to audience as a brand. If you think about what you just described, and I'm leaving Facebook aside for a second because Facebook is the platform. It became the enabler. But as a small brand, a small company, you have today the same power that Nike have. You don't have the same money, but eventually you have the same power. With the right content, you can reach to hundreds of even billions of people. It's never been like that. If you think about it 20, 30 years ago, it doesn't matter how much money you had, you didn't have the platform to reach to those numbers. And today, through Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, and all those social platforms, you just need to spend enough money with the right creative to reach to all those clients. But at the same time, and I think with this one I finished this point, it's never been harder to grab their attention. So it's easy to reach to those clients, but to get their attention became super hard. So it's kind of contradicting. On one hand, you have all the world in front of you, in a matter of click of a button, of targeting in social network. But at the same time, you're fighting the attention spent with Nike, who's producing content in millions of dollars. So in here, you need to be a little bit more sophisticated in how you package, what is the content you deliver, who is your audience, where he sits, what he cares about, and how you package it. And this is where Edge should help you and help you.
This is exactly the next question that I wanted to ask. It's a double-edged sword. It's easier to get to new audiences, right? You just have to post something, but it's kind of a lot more hard to know what your job is as a digital marketer, right? In the past, you had those advertising agency, you used to buy you media, and you give them some content, and they do whatever they want to do with it, right? Today, it's all about you. So where do you post? How do you post? What tools you use? Like, do you use Apester? Do you use one of your competitors or whatever? So I would assume that being in your side, which is basically, again, the enabler, right? Your job is actually 100 times more than their job, which is harder than it used to be anyways.
It's as hard and sometimes a little bit harder, like you described, but eventually what wins always is value producing and how efficient you are in reaching your target audience with the right message. So for me, as a platform, when I'm coming in and using different techniques, but eventually trying to reach to new clients that will use Apester as a technology, I need to make sure that I'm obviously not just convince them that I'm valuable, but I'm better at doing exactly what I'm trying to reach, which is basically to grab their attention. So it made my life harder because I need to be a little bit more creative in the way that I present myself. But I think this is something we've done very well in the beginning, which got us above the noise very fast. And in many ways created a lot of demand for the technology, and then start to iterate. And you have already case studies in place, you use them, you use the right marketing techniques, you use the right sales process, and if you have the most important, the right people around you that can work with you, it can actually work.
Let's start talking a little bit more entrepreneurship, which is really where I'm coming from. Okay? Just thinking about right now, you've been scaling up pretty fast, right? Raising about $30 million and so. And I'm just wondering, right now, you're probably in a point where you are in the crossroad, right? Do you want, and I know this answer because we talked before, but are you going towards an exit, or are you going towards more scale up and doing what Wix have done?
Yeah, so I think as an entrepreneur, almost every time or every morning you're in a crossroad. So it's never like it's always crossroads. The question is what is the active cross at the end of each corner. So yes, as a company, we scaled very fast. We got to a point in which we actually have a product that works with customers willing to pay for it, which is scaled, and have a lot of clients in the global distribution, and we're very happy, and we had the right, I'll say, mixture of technology, time, luck, everything at the same time. And to your question, yes, I think as an entrepreneur and somebody who's building a company, the dream was decide the money element, which is definitely part of it. I think the entrepreneur that doesn't say yes, we're here also for the money, telling a story which is not real. I think the right combination is to do something you believe in and that you can be passionate about, because it's going to be a hell of a ride, super hard, and without the right mixture of passion and something you care, that you feel that you would like to do, with the incentive of the money behind, there's no way in the world you will survive it, because it's really much harder than what it looks like from an outside. And long story short, to answer your question, I would be more than happy to build a huge company like Wix, for example, which are amazing, and investors at Apester as well. So I know the guys, the founders, they are brilliant, and beside the fact that they are brilliant because they build a company like Wix, they are good people with the will to give back to the community, which is awesome. So I'm always going to be favorable for building a huge company, but I'll be always true to reality of what is the real opportunity, what is ahead of me, and if the right offer for selling the company will come, I will take a deep look at it.
So what do you need, which in Israel we lack, in order to go the path that Wix took, basically?
So I think first of all, Israel is, from the tech scene, as you look in the past 15 years, there is a big change. It used to be only an exit game. Like it was mostly
startups that build some sort of deep technology that didn't know how to market it yet, didn't know how to build business around it, but was super interesting, and then big companies came and just created, did merger and acquisitions, and then the exit kind of green is. Because everybody asks when you exit, when do you have the Sudarim style, the mid-90s. But I think today it's different. You would see that a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of companies are not just willing to build huge company, they know that it can be built from Israel. Like Wix, for instance, is a great example. And suddenly the mindsets change. Instead of trying just to drive technology fast in order to sell it to a big company in beautiful multipliers, we're thinking, I see a lot of movement, and I would like to believe that we are part of it, that are thinking about, okay, long-term route, which means to build a lot of things that not necessarily are just technology. Sales operation, marketing operation, support, how to manage crises, agile, a lot of things that are much more complex than just building a cool technology and sell it. It's suddenly build a business, a big business, which I think Israel is unique, and especially the tech scene is because you don't have an Israel market. You cannot, like the Germans, for instance, or in UK or in US, obviously, the entrepreneurs can build businesses and companies for their own market without even need to think about other markets at the first time, which make it much easier because it's your own culture, your own market, your own territory, you understand everything, and you're just building it for this market. As an Israel-based company, you don't have a local market, so you're starting from global approach. You're already asking yourself how you will sell your products in multiple places, either as a B2B business or a B2C. So I think today it's becoming more talent are available in the sales, in the marketing, in the scale, in understanding of how building big businesses. And if you ask me 20, 30 years from now, you would see a lot of Wix out of Israel.
That actually made me very optimistic because, in the, let's say, I used to think the same way, and then people started telling me you don't know how hard it is to build a unicorn in Israel. You don't have enough engineers, and the ones that you do have wants that and that amount of wages, which we can hardly afford. So Intel takes them all, and then, by the way, you told me that if you would take in another path and not become an entrepreneur, you'll probably be richer, okay, which that actually in itself is a problem.
Definitely in the short term.
Yeah,
I believe so.
Okay, so I'm just saying, where does your optimism comes from? Because it's unique.
So I'm not, there is a difference between pessimistic, optimistic, and realistic, right? I think I'm more the realistic than the optimistic. And the reason is because, first of all, I see companies. And you would see not just Wix, you can see WalkMe, you can see Monday, you can see Yotpo, you can see JFrog. Many companies suddenly not selling off fast. All of these companies, if they were born 10 years ago, they probably would sell it around the 200, 300, 400 million. Super happy, successful, the entrepreneurs are rich, the investors are rich, everybody's happy. But all of them took the decision to grind and go all the way towards building a big, meaningful business. And the decision came first and foremost from the entrepreneurs themselves that have the appetite and the need almost to create something big. And secondly is the knowledge is coming here much more than it used to be. A lot of Israeli companies sold their companies to the big tech giants. After they sold their companies, they took some sort of a business role inside. They learned a lot, and they brought this knowledge back to the industry. And the more big companies you would see, the more kind of let's say a network effect it will generate. More knowledge, more need, more appetite, more big companies, and etc. So I'm quite optimistic about the future.
So let's go back a little bit, okay? If you could give some tips to the entrepreneurs, and we got some, okay, here, that would wish to be like you one day, okay? Yeah. Going and getting the funding of that amount that you got, how do you do it?
Yeah, so I'll start by saying if you don't really have the passion, not necessarily the talent, don't do it, don't start. And the reason is because it's going to be much more hard, and I'm not trying to get anyone away from it, the opposite, I'm trying just to let you know exactly what is in front of you. It's going to be much harder than what you anticipate, definitely if it's the first time entrepreneurship. It's your first time, which this is, for instance, my first time as a tech entrepreneur. I used to be, let's say, entrepreneur as a kid, but nothing similar to what we do today, what I'm doing today. So I'll start by put the right mindset in place, because that's the beginning and probably the most important. Ask yourself what you're passionate about. Know that you are going for a huge fight ahead of you, which is going to be full of pessimistic people around you, full of no's, full of failures, and it's okay. It's part of it. No one ever, maybe Facebook, okay? No one really created a big company overnight. It's never as it looks like in Hollywood. It's full of, sorry for my language, shitloads of fuck-ups as we go. A lot of mistakes, a lot of unknowns, and it's part of it. And you should have the mentality to understand that it's okay. And all of the successful entrepreneurs that you see around you have the same journey. None of them had an easy life towards their big success. All of them iterated and grind all the way, and many of them had the right luck at the right time to make it happen. So don't beat yourself too much. It's important to start with, because I can tell you from my experience, when I started, I always thought that I have the talent, and I was in the full confident that I can do whatever I want. But at the same time, I always, had been beating myself about when I'm looking at companies outside, or stories, success stories, from raising money to building products or big exits. And I felt like, wow, what the hell these guys are doing that I don't know how to do? Like, why we have so much difference between myself and these successful people? And the truth is that there's not so much difference. The difference is iteration time, persistence, and some luck. So that's the core essence of trying to succeed at something. Now, to your second questions about how to raise money and how to make sure that you are building the right business model for your whatever entrepreneurship it is. By the way, it doesn't have to be tech. It could be around multiple things. It's always come to two things, as I see it. To tell the right story and understand what exactly is the solution you're trying to build for what pain, in which market. And secondly is to be as accurate as possible in the planning process in terms of the financials, the numbers. Know the market. Know the market, know the numbers, and it's very easy today. In the past, it was super hard to reach to those numbers and to reach to these ideas and reach those information. But today, you are one Google search away, you are one YouTube search away from every piece of knowledge out there. You can become a rocket scientist through YouTube. Real story, you can actually search for it and just find somebody who became a rocket scientist through YouTube. So, what I'm trying to say is, before you're trying to go and raise money, which looks like something impossible for somebody who's just trying to do it for the first time, do this. Try to focus on the fundamentals. What is your solution? What are you trying to achieve? What are you trying to do? Package it in the right way. Secondly, know your numbers and market and opportunity, and then know how to present it. Only after you have these two fundamentals, and it's okay, it's not going to be perfect at the beginning. Part of the process will be iterating, hear a lot of no's, and then knowing from the feedback how to how to iterate and build the right way. But only after that, try to ask yourself, okay, how the hell do I get to investors? And there is ways. If I got to investors, everybody can.
The current stage of your startup, what is the main challenge for Apester nowadays?
Wow, if I need to choose one. So first, so I can tell you that always probably when you, because building a startup is, I love to say the analogy of like building a rocket ship while it flies. Basically, you build a rocket ship, you fuel it, it flies, and then it starts to break. And it starts to break because of the faster it moves, the better altitude, the more friction, it starts to break. And you need to fix it while it's on the growing trajectory without fuck it up and blow up the entire ship. So we are in a phase which we are becoming a real business, not just an idea. It's generating real revenue. And the question is now how you not just make it more sustainable, but how you can make it more predictable as well. Meaning is, where do you invest the money? What are the right people around you for specific needs? And building a platform from, let's say, 1 million to 10 million to 100 million in revenue. It's a constant struggle between having the resources on one hand, but not just having them, but where can I use them the right way. So I think I said the challenge is everything.
You were talking about fuck-ups before. I'm going to ask you the toughest question, and I'm going to prepare you with, let's say a small tough question, all right? You talked about the fuck-ups. Tell us about one huge fuck-up that still burns you when you think about that.
All right. Without giving too much details about the specific, let's say, because it's not just me who was around these specific fuck-ups, but in a specific negotiation about a huge deal that could become worth a lot of money for us. I tried to be very prepared and organize the right, let's say, the right pitch for product, etc. And one of the biggest fuck-ups was for me when I missed the flight to the meeting. Yeah, yes. And I missed the flight because I was a super idiot. All right? I was an idiot, and this is a simple fuck-up, and maybe something that everybody can relate to. You're preparing a lot, you do a lot of work, and then you miss the flight. Okay, that doesn't make any sense, right? And it blew up. But basically, it created a negative momentum because, I understand why. How serious are you as a CEO, as a tech entrepreneur, if you miss your flights to one of the most important meetings you had in the past? Happens, shit happens. And I missed the flight. And I think this is something that eventually it was a good thing because I missed a deal that maybe could have killed me as a company. But in a retro perspective, it's easy to see. Let's say the day after was not an easy day for me. But again, I was already kind of had the tough skin around me to understand that, okay, another fuck up that I can mention. I'm still here, I still survive. You build yourself a resilience as you go as a company. And this fuck up is just something simple. I have many of them.
So I said the toughest question, now it goes. Where do you see Apester in like 5 years from now?
So first of all, I want to say alive and big and successful, which is always the wishful thinking as a company and as a startup. But if I really kind of imagining the 5 years from now in an optimistic view, hopefully a company that not just have the right idea with the right technology that grows fast, but becoming a meaningful part of the entire ecosystem, especially around content marketing and technology, providing those tools. Meaning is generating 100 million on top as revenue, profitable by decision, let's call it like this, and building the business. either through public market or private market. It doesn't really matter what is the right setup, but in 5 years from now, if I want to sit here and I say I'm feeling like I made it, this is the future I would like to be, I'm hoping for.
Sounds great. We hope that you make it all the way today. Now it's time for the audience to ask questions, and I'm kind of sure that we have many of those. So who wants to go first? Gali?
I'm sorry if I missed it, but can you explain about your platform? I want to take my project as an example, entrepreneurship for kids. How can I use it?
Good.
So yes, to your question, we built a platform that allows content creators, brands, marketeers, small to big, and I will explain in a second how you can use it as well. The tools to produce content in scale that is visual, interactive, that fits to mobile device, using the story format, and distributed across multiple channels very easily. So think about us like Wix for interactive content for mobile environment, if that makes sense. And to your question, the second one, how you can use us. So if it's entrepreneurship for kids, it's actually pretty cool content and subject to speak about. So who is your audience, first and foremost?
School principals.
Okay, so principals and schools. So with Apester, you can build content and package it in an interactive, meaningful way. For instance, think about producing an Apester story, okay, and which is interactive and asks questions as part of you watching the video in the story format and asking the consumers to participate and grade specific elements around entrepreneurships of kids, from building stuff to selling lemonades in the street, for instance. And you can, with Apester tools, you can build this content very easily without the need to go and produce and pay a lot of money for producers and an agency to make this content. But you can also distribute it across multiple places. So one place you create it, then on a click of a button you can put it in your Facebook, and Instagram, and Snapchat, and TikTok, in your website, in your blog, and make it super easy and effective. And I'm pretty sure that's going to be also helpful as well.
So somebody here? Yeah.
Moti, first of all, thank you very much for all the information. My name is Rishon, and I'm building a startup that related to body positive and self-acceptance for women in the United States. My question is for you: what is you think the best way to engage with communities? The best way to approach, the best way to start. I'm actually starting. I have like 800 people on Instagram. It's very nice. In 2 weeks. And it's organic. It's very nice. But I want to make it more individual, more specific, and make it bigger. I just want to know what's the best way to engage with communities.
So first of all, I'll start with saying congratulations, and hopefully, I wish you success. I think, it's a big question, but I'll try to make it easy and fast and give you some value on what I'm answering. So you need to ask, first of all, what is the type of content you produce, which can be fit to, on one hand, your story, the story that you are basically telling about your product. And then the second question is, where do you think, again, something that I kind of said before, your audience is. So you say for communities, you say for, let's say, positive movements around body, fitness, and everything around, let's say, healthy lifestyle. So I would start with the research of what is the biggest communities where your audience is. Okay, so for instance, the biggest groups in social networking, Facebook and Instagram and Snapchat, and TikTok. Then the second question I would ask, when you're browsing and see those communities where they are, what is the type of content you see produced to those communities on the first hand? And then I'll start to produce, let's say, a content program, which is, meaning is, and make it simple, I'll try to simplify it. think about what type of pieces of content you need to produce for those communities that are going to grab their attention. And then what is the frequency, okay? And try to measure the effect all the time. You said in a few weeks you got to 800 followers in Instagram. That's great. It actually means that you probably produce content that is somebody cares about. So think about how you can make it in scale and more accurate to who you produce this content to. Only then you can ask a lot of questions of, okay, now what is the service I'm trying to provide? Do I try to bring them to my website to subscribe to content that I produce? What is the solution I'm trying to provide to the market? More questions? Yeah.
Hi, my name is Rishon. I would like you to tell me about when you founded the company, how long it took before you tried to reach the investors for investment, and what was the team composition when you took the investment?
So yes, I started the company, as Tom mentioned, in 2011, but when I started at the beginning, I didn't have anything, no idea, no nothing. I just started the company and said, okay, now from now on, I'm an entrepreneur, let's try to make something out of it. And it took me almost 3 years, by the way, from 2011 to 2014, to get to a point which I have a clear idea, clear solution that I want to iterate. It doesn't mean that anyone needs to have the same route. For me, it took a lot of time until I understood exactly the ecosystem, what it means to be an entrepreneur in tech, who are, where I'm playing. Only when I got to a point, it was 2013, I think, when I started to have something in mind, and I found my co-founder, which, to your second question, was the composition of the team, and he was part of the founder of Zap, back in the days, CEO in Israel, and he sold his company, so he came with money and with knowledge. And true, I think the first thing I would suggest, it's actually to combine, kind of tie to the question you asked before about entrepreneurship. Besides the research and everything you should do, try to find some mentors that have knowledge and building companies in the scene, in the tech scene, that can help you and guide you. The importance of it comes two ways. It can help you to build the team, the composition of the right team. It can help you, obviously, to give you the information to how to package your content, to package your idea, and then it can even help you open doors to your first meetings with investors. So I started 2011, but I started to meet investors only in 2013, when I already have something in my hand. Created some mocks, some demos, something that already I can sell. Because eventually, when it comes to investors, we're selling ideas for unrealistic valuation most of the time. And composition of the team, if you ask me, it should be always business and tech. Always. Will be much easier. Much easier about everything, by the way. Building the business, not being by yourself because it's a hard game, pitching to investors, eventually building the team that actually going to deliver the product to the market. Again, if you're building a company in tech that goes to do something that involves technology. If you are entrepreneurships that not necessarily do tech, but do other real estate, you don't need a tech co-founder. You need somebody actually from the industry. But if you do something in the tech, you should have at least one arm which is tech, that can speak about tech and can show the investors that they know what they do and they can build not just the technology but also the team around it, and somebody from the business side. Either sales, marketing, business development, management, something like that can help you.
Hi, first of all, thank you so much for being here. My name is Liran. I'm a VP Marketing in a very big company in the IT world. And the IT world is, I think, one of the most boring industries there is, especially in the marketing area. And we have a lot of trouble to generate content. So I think one of the first question I have is pretty selfish one. Do you have the possibility to generate content to the IT world, and how you can do it? This is the first one. And the second one is about the pricing model. I saw in your website that you have a revenue share. What if I'm selling a product not in $500? My project is between $1 to $5 million for a project. So how does the pricing model work? Thank you.
That's actually very good questions, interesting ones. I'm very generic.
Better than mine,
But,
I have to say. You guys should sit here.
They can definitely be part of the program. So the first part to your question, the Apester can help you produce content, even the IT more boring, let's say, because I think the topic might be boring, but again, boring is a matter of context in many ways. If you speak about electricity and IT in terms of I don't know how the electrons move in the wires, maybe most of the people are not going to find it interesting. But if you will talk about the same thing for electrical engineering, we might find it interesting. So what I'm trying to say is there's no one thing that is boring. There's boring for the wrong audience. So produce content that is around specific topic for the right audience. You can speak about IT from super techie element to the right guys, techie. Or you can speak about it from a value standpoint and ease of use and accessibility if you're selling it to the business guys that want to understand what is and how can IT help them in their business. So I think that's the first part. So the second part is Apester can help you to produce this content in scale and mass and probably more effective than any other tools out there. And very easy to start and see the results fast. And about the business model, when you look at Apester pricing, the rev share model is especially for media companies. So when we're working with Time Inc. or with Ynet or with media companies that generate revenue through advertising, then the model fits to rev share. When we're working with a company like yourself, we're working with a SaaS model. We're just building, you're paying a subscription fee based on the usage, based on your size, based on the service layer that you want from us, because part of what we provide is not just the technology, but also a service that help you to produce, to understand, to analyze, and reach to the goals you care for. Which eventually goals probably will be sales or something like that.
Yeah, the platform will be can be at the white level. Yeah. So if I want to put this product in my company and marketing people are underneath me, they can see only my logo. Yeah, white level. Yes.
Yes. Okay. Part of our clients, there are some clients that are coming from the financial Northern Trust, which are not Bundesliga, but are less interesting in what they sell, and they're using Apester to produce content and have this innovative experience inside their native app, website, etc. White label, fully branded, that looks like Apester is just behind the scene. Eventually the brand is in the front.
I asked my nephew, what is technology? It's not even six. He said, it's a sort of electricity.
It is sort of electricity. Yeah, absolutely. You see, it's brilliant. Yeah, easy. Yeah. Today, electricity and technology is the same thing.
As you know, marketing changes every few months.
True.
All the methods, all the ways to do marketing. And I'm doing marketing for a long time. What is the best way from your side to know how to change with the time, with digital marketing change, how I need to think, where I need to look, I need to create myself, or just go with the flow and what everyone else is doing, just do like what I do.
So this one, actually, I have, as I see it, two different ways of building the right marketing strategy. And it probably will sound repetitive because I'm answering almost the same thing from always different angles, because this is my belief, philosophy, and my experience. First of all, think about the long term, which means ask yourself, who is your audience, what is the content that I want to deliver to my audience that they will find interesting, that can be related to what I'm selling. And it doesn't matter what I'm selling. So if I'm selling coffee, try to find what surrounds coffee. What the people that loves coffee and care about coffee, what they like as well beside coffee, that I can speak about, and I can build a voice of tone that I can reach to my target audience. So this is something that doesn't matter where the platform and what comes and goes on agenda, probably not changing too much. It's kind of your true identity as a brand, as a marketeer, around your service and product and your audience, and how you connect these two with content as an enabler. That's the one thing that I would start with. And then the second part is more tactic, which is kind of more on the, okay, what is the right trends that are happening today? What are the right formats? Where is the channels that I can use? And this is definitely constantly changing. But once you have the basis, what I just said before, to change, to repackage and think about how you use the TikTok formats on the platform, will be much easier because you know what you want to speak about. You're just asking yourself, okay, now the medium changed, podcast or TikTok, but the topic is not changed. I just need to think about how do I use the format and the platform in the right way to deliver the same content that I'm already delivering, because this is what I care about. So I would always look into what's happening in the world, in platforms, in format changes, in what consumers are acting and engage with. And then I will ask myself, how do I participate, and if I need to participate. Because if your audience, for an instance, is not a young audience, maybe TikTok is not for you. So, and if the opposite, so obviously the opposite.
Not really long term.
Always.
More questions? Okay, so before we move into the next part, I would just like to thank Moti for being here.